you all owe me money. You all owe me a lot of money, right? I change my accent up a little bit in my videos to make it easier for people to understand me. You all owe me money now. You all owe me money. I'm hurt. I'm offended. I get told this all the time. There was one time, sorry, I can't understand your accent, could be racial discrimination, right? There was a time, and this happened down in England, and I was furious about it. I was really, really angry at the time. I was out on a night in the town. I was with Sargon and I was with Paul Joseph Watson, and we were walking through London, and I was approached by a man, I believe he was Indian, and he came up and he asked for directions to where the nearest subway was, right? The underground tube, not the sandwich place. And I turned around to him and I had a little bit of drink in me, so I was talking in my usual accent, and I says, "I'm no fae here, mate. Sorry." Like that was all I said. I just went, "I'm no fae here," and the guy went, "Oh, no speak English." Like to me, Sargon was fucking crying. He thought it was the funniest fucking thing ever. Paul had a great big laugh about it, and I sat there having this Indian man saying to me, "Oh, you know speak English." Right, I was fucking raging. Sargon and Paul thought it was the funniest fucking thing they'd ever seen, but I didn't. But anyway, let's get into the article. Tribunal judge makes ruling after university worker criticised over her strong Brazilian accent. Telling someone with a foreign accent you can't understand them could be racial harassment, a senior tribunal judge has said. So what you're supposed to do is sit there, smile and nod, not understand a single thing that they just told you, but you're not allowed to ask them to repeat that or say, "I'm sorry, your accent's very hard to understand." You're basically just to smile and nod at the person and not take in any of the information they gave you. Because, I mean, that's the politer way to do things. Essentially just not listen to the person at all. Not listen to them and just go, "Ah," like that. That's what you're supposed to do. And then go, "Oh, we had a nice long conversation. What did you talk about?" "I don't know." Because I wasn't allowed to say anything because I couldn't understand them. Commenting on or criticising the way someone from another country or ethnic group speaks could breach employment law, Judge James Taylor said. The senior circuit judge for the Employment Appeal Tribunal made the ruling following a case about a university worker who sued when she received criticisms over her strong Brazilian accent. I don't think it was criticisms. I think people just said, "Sorry, could you say that again? I'm sorry, your accent's very difficult to understand." I think that's just an observation. If someone's accent is very difficult to understand. Elaine Carozzi took the University of Hertfordshire to an employment tribunal claiming she suffered racial discrimination and harassment over comments about her accent. Right? Accents aren't really anything to do with race. I mean, like, look at England. Look at the fact that anywhere in the British Isles, go a half-hour drive in any direction and you'll get a completely different accent. Right? That's just the way it works over here. Or in London, you're just surrounded by different accents everywhere. But anywhere in this island, go a half-hour drive in one direction, you'll find a different accent. And if you say to that person, if I said to someone from Newcastle, "Sorry, I don't really understand your accent," is that racial discrimination? It's not, because we're both white, we're both British. Like, it's not racial discrimination. It's a lot of nonsense. Although the marketing manager had a good grasp of the English language, managers at the institution had allegedly struggled to understand what she was saying. That's just, some people just struggle with it. Again, are people just supposed to smile and nod now and not ask you to repeat yourself? Like, it's dumb. This is just performative shite that our taxes are going towards. Her claims were dismissed by a 2021 tribunal in Watford, good, but she has now won a legal battle to have part of her case reheard as the appeal tribunal found that there were mistakes in its decision. Judge Taylor found that the original panel erred in law when it found that the University of Hertfordshire did not racially harass Miss Carozzi. He suggested that comments about not understanding someone with a foreign accent could still be harassment because an accent may be an important part of a person's national or ethnic identity. And that's all well and good, but if people can't understand you, people can't understand you. It's like, oh, it's part of my ethnic culture for no one to have any idea what the fuck I'm saying. It's part of my ethnic culture to not be able to effectively communicate with those around me. Like, that's dumb. This is a stupid problem. This is a dumb fucking problem that our taxes were wasted to pay for. He suggested that comments about not understanding someone with a foreign accent could still be harassment. Oh, in fact, I've just read that part. Comments about a person's accent could be related to the protected characteristics of race, he said at the appeal tribunal. Violate dignity. The judge said that criticism of such an accent could violate dignity and could therefore be harassment. However, this would depend on a number of considerations and the individual case. The original tribunal heard that Ms. Carozzi made a catalogue of allegations against the university, including that Annabelle Lucas, her manager, discriminated against her. Ms. Carozzi was on probation at the university after joining in December 2017, but said that the probation kept getting extended over concerns about her communication, allegedly due in part to her pronunciation, because if you're needed for a job where it's effective for you to communicate with people in an English-speaking country, then it's important that you do that well. Right? Oh, they kept it basically. I mean, it's amazing that they extended your probation at all. Like, I would extend it once, and I would say, look, people need to be able to understand you. That's key for this position. You have to communicate with people. If you can't effectively communicate with people, then sorry, this position's not for you. So the fact that they extended her probation several times meant that they were giving her time to adjust her accent to make it easier for people to understand her. And it looks like she just didn't do it. I mean, I switched up my whole accent, like, for my YouTube videos to make it easier for people to understand me. Right, that's what I did. Right, it was easy enough for me to do that. To be fair, English is my first language, right? So it is easier for me to, but it's possible. It's possible. There's people out there, I've seen brown and black people in Scotland with a full Scottish accent, which is weird to see. It's weird to see, like, going into a corner shop and the guy's like, all right, mate. And you're like, what the fuck? Man, like, it's weird seeing that. But still, it's possible. It just looks like she wasn't trying. She told the original tribunal that over 13 months, Miss Lucas made derogatory remarks about her attitude, culture, and Brazilian accent. I have a Brazilian accent. Miss Lucas told me that the team was having issues with my very strong accent, and therefore they didn't want to invite me to important meetings and events, Miss Carozzi said at the time. I have a Brazilian accent, I can't change my background, my ethnicity, and my national origins, she added. That's completely correct. However, you can change your accent. You can change your accent. Like, I do impersonations of accents all the time. You can change it. It's actually quite easy. I think once you have a mastery of the English language, then you can change your accent. Like, I'm not gonna fucking, like, I wouldn't. Whenever I'm speaking another language, I would try and do it in their accent. I don't think Scottish languages work when you're speaking, like, say, French or something like that. Je m'appelle Marcus. Like, I don't think it works. I think you probably sound like a Hmong when you speak other languages in a Scottish accent. When asked why Miss Lucas was not comfortable taking Miss Carozzi to external meetings, she said it was not because of her accent, but because of the content of what she was saying. Miss Lucas said the content of what Miss Carozzi had been saying was separate from her accent and that it had often been confusing, which made it difficult for her and other team members to get a grasp on what she was doing. Nothing to do with her race. All of Miss Carozzi's claims were dismissed by the original tribunal in 2021, but the EAT has now said it made mistakes in some of its judgments. And one of the mistakes the initial tribunal was told Miss Lucas said at a probation meeting for the marketing manager, you have a very strong accent, and although your English language is very good, it can be difficult for you to be understood. And this is an issue when your role is one of communication, engagement, and partnership, which I think is very, very fair. I think that's very, very fair. The original tribunal ruled Miss Carozzi's accent had nothing to do whatsoever with her race and that Miss Lucas's comments did not harass her. However, Judge Taylor said this was a mistake because while race didn't motivate the comments, it was still connected to it and was therefore potentially harassment. The judge also said the original tribunal made mistakes in two other judgments, one relating to a claim about Miss Carozzi's accent and another about victimization. Concluding, Judge Taylor said these three complaints should be heard by a new tribunal. A University of Hertfordshire spokesperson said there have been no findings of discrimination in relation to Miss Carozzi's accent. The university is committed to creating the usual speech, welcoming environment for a global community spanning 140 nationalities, so blah, blah, blah. We have comprehensive inclusivity training. It's all the usual shite that you get for unis. I'm not even going to bother reading that. We also adopt the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. What an odd thing to say. And all that, but yeah. Just the usual pish that you would see coming out of universities of we're an inclusive blah 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 place. This is dumb and a total waste of tax money. If you've got a strong accent, you've got a strong accent. If I went somewhere and they says your accent is very, very difficult to understand, which in the early days of YouTube, a lot of people were saying to me, I just switched my accent up to make it easier for people to understand me. Because my job essentially is communication. I create content that communicates information to you guys. So I change my accent up. I pronounce my T's because I don't know if you know that, but Scots we don't do T's very well. We do it instead. instead of pronouncing our T's, unless it's at the start of a word. Like instead of saying Scots, I'll say Scots. It's like we make a weird noise instead. But yeah, I changed my accent up to make it easier for all of you to understand me, and I don't know why this woman can't do that, and instead she's going crying and bleating to a place that's spending a lot of her tax money to deal with her absolute nonsense when she could just fix her fucking accent.